Do you know what goody two-shoes means? Do you know which book popularized the phrase? Do you want to know how to use it in a sentence? All this and more coming up. But first, if you haven't already, please subscribe to The English Nut on YouTube, Facebook and Instagram. Thank you. A goody two-shoes is a well-behaved person who always does the right thing. There is often a slightly negative connotation to the term though, especially when it's used to describe someone who is self-righteously virtuous or a person who's virtuous to the point of being annoying. This person is sometimes called a goody-goody and is someone who wants to please people in authority. Someone who wants to let everyone know how good he or she is. Reminds me of the Mother Goose poem Little Jack Horner. Remember the rhyme? Little Jack Horner sat in the corner eating a Christmas pie. He put in his thumb and pulled out a plum and said, "What a good boy am I." He does seem a bit self-satisfied, doesn't he? But perhaps I'm being a little harsh towards poor little Jack Horner. Let's move from the nursery rhyme to a song that's slightly more grown up. Goody Two Shoes is the title of a song by Adam Ant. It was the English singer's debut solo single, released in 1982. Its lyrics include the lines, "Goody two, goody two shoes. Don't drink, don't smoke, what do? Subtle innuendos follow. There must be something inside." It expresses the feeling that people sometimes have about someone who's a goody two-shoes. The fact that they can't really be that perfect and there must be a hidden negative side to their character. The phrase was popularized by the children's story published in 1765 called The History of Little Goody Two-Shoes. It's sort of a Cinderella story where the protagonist is an orphan called Marjorie Meanwell. She is so poor, she only has one shoe. When a rich gentleman gives Marjorie a pair of shoes, she is so delighted she goes around telling everyone that she has 2 shoes. Here's a quote from the story. She ran out to Mrs. Smith as soon as they were put on and stroking down her ragged apron thus cried out, "2 shoes, ma'am, see 2 shoes." And so she behaved to all the people she met and by that means obtained the name of Goody Two-Shoes. Later she marries a rich man and ends up wealthy. It was a common theme in children's stories of the 18th century that virtue is rewarded with wealth. But of course Marjorie was such a Goody Two-Shoes, she believed that wealth should only be used to help others. The history of Little Goody Two-Shoes is quite long, making it a strong contender for the distinction of being the first children's novel. When the story was written, the word goody was short for good wife, the female head of a household. In the 1870s, the term goody-goody was coined, meaning more or less the same thing that goody two-shoes means today. After that, people started interpreting the goody in goody two-shoes as an abbreviation of goody-goody. But it was the 1930s before people started using goody two-shoes as an idiom rather than to refer to Marjorie Meanwell, the character in the story. The authorship of The History of Little Goody Two-Shoes is disputed. The story was published without the author's name, but it is believed by many that it was written by the Anglo-Irish writer Oliver Goldsmith. The belief is based on the fact that it was written in Goldsmith's style. Also importantly, Goldsmith was known to work as a ghostwriter for the publisher of the book, John Newbery. American short story writer Washington Irving supported the theory that Goldsmith was the author. He wrote, "Several quaint little tales introduced in Goldsmith's essays show that he had a turn for this species of mock history, and the advertisement and title page bear the stamp of his sly and playful humor." But there are other theories as well, and some people believe that the book was written by Newbery himself. The title page of the book has the following witticism. See the original manuscript in the Vatican at Rome, and the cuts by Michelangelo. Cuts as used here means woodcuts. While the term goody two-shoes was popularized by the story, that's not where it originated. In the previous century, English author Charles Cotton wrote in his poem Voyage to Ireland in burlesque. Mistress Mayoress complained that the pottage was cold, and all long of your fiddle-faddle, quoth she. Why then, goody two-shoes, what if it be? Hold you, if you can, your tittle-tattle, quoth he. Pottage means soup or stew. Fiddle-faddle means nonsense. Quoth is an archaic form of said. Tittle-tattle means gossip, and burlesque means a parody, a comically exaggerated imitation of something, especially in a literary or dramatic work. Here's how you can use goody two-shoes in a sentence. Amina is such a goody two-shoes, she never joins in with the other kids when they're up to mischief. I'm not a goody two-shoes, I just like to stay out of trouble. You can't be a goody two-shoes in this dog-eat-dog world. Soon after he took over the company, it became apparent that he was no goody two-shoes. You're usually such a goody two-shoes. How could you do a thing like that? Do come up with sentences using the phrase goody two-shoes. Write them in the comments section. I'm the English Nut. Bye for now.